Okay, let's send out our tweets. Looks like everything should be good. Everything's muted. Do we have things actually showing up? It says we're live, so I'm going to assume that means that we're live. Although I don't know why it's not showing anything. That always worries me. I'm going to try refreshing this page real quick. Sometimes Twitch gets weird, so I'm just going to assume that everything's working perfectly. Hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is September 8th, and this is the September 8th Text Devstream. So, got a couple of things to go over today, a couple of small things, and then one really, well, cool thing that I think is really cool. And then we're going to be probably actually doing a lot of scripting today. I think the main focus for today is actually going to be the Dark Forest, trying to get that stuff, or not, it's not. That's what it used to be called. That was its original name. Now it's just the woods. Technically it's Nod Woods, but alright. So that seems to be working. Let's hope that my chat will work, because I had to refresh the page. It's always kind of iffy. Alright, so to get started, and make sure that I actually tweeted this time, because I always seem to forget. Alright, let's go ahead and just jump right into our grove area. To start off, oh, I gotta reattach that. Oh well. So we do have sort of a, it's not volumetric audio, that's not what I would call it, but there is a sort of area of effect around the pond now that will play water sounds no matter where you are, and if we get far enough away, it'll stop. Now, you might have noticed that that's kind of an abrupt stop, but there's no real gradual fading, so I'm going to be working on that. But Sector did have, I knew that it was in there somewhere, it has a volume sort of behavior, which basically means that as long as you're inside the area, it's going to play that sound where you are, so you'll always hear it. But that still needs quite a bit of work, obviously, to make it feel good. Because right now it's just very jarring. Alright, so the other thing I've done is I have adjusted the vertices for the ground here to make the dirt sort of come up a little bit more smoothly. It tapers off a little bit more now. It's not quite done. You can see we have sort of like this weird jut out here, so I'm going to have to redo some of that. Which is kind of annoying, because it means that basically anytime I want to do vertex painting like this, I'm going to have some odd edges that get exported in the middle of the mesh, so not all of the edges will be going nice and uniform in one specific direction anymore, but that's what's necessary to get the vertex weighting to behave properly. And the really cool thing that I'm excited about is this. Ah, might be hard to hear if you don't have headphones in, but right now I am walking and making dirt sound effects, and as I move out here I make grass sound effects. So if I get back into the dirt, I'll go out to the grass, you can hear the difference in footsteps. Now it's not quite what I want, because you can see like right here I'm making grass sound effects. Now I've switched to dirt. So these sort of crossfade areas aren't quite what I would like. I probably should add weighted values to them to make them behave a little bit more as expected. But this is all just one mesh, and it's actually using the material information to actually determine what your footsteps should sound like. So I sort of revamped my entire ground system from a simple like 3-line script to like an abstract class that's just called ground with a basic ground class, which is what this is. Oh, I forgot to change the water sound effects back. And then I have a vertex painted ground, which is what this stuff is, or this ground is. So it can handle multiple ground types on it. So if I stop playing real quick, do a couple of things before I forget. One is I'm just going to change the pond bed, add a ground type to it, and make it water. And then real quick, I'm just going to grab this, add a material scroll. Let's see, we're going to do oscillate, scrollable. We're going to scroll the main text. Direction is going to be point, it's 0.01. And then, no, it was like 0.4, 0.3, something like that. Or 0.01. And then oscillate duration is like 5 and 3. I think I have a 0 stay on everything. Alright, so if we look at our actual ground here, and actually before we do that, let's look at the pond bed. The pond bed has the old sort of basic ground script where all it had was you would specify a ground type, you know, grass, dirt, wood, whatever. In this case, water, because you're in a pond. And then you have a death message, which just displays if you fall from a great height and hit the ground. Now, if we go over here to our vertex painted ground, you'll see that, again, it's all one mesh. Before, when I wanted to do something like this, I would actually have to make sort of like sub-meshes to make everything work. But obviously that doesn't fit with vertex painting, because I wouldn't get these nice sort of transition edges. So what we can do instead is specify a color that I want to look for, either red, green, or blue. And it has to be solid red, or solid green, or solid blue, because that's how this vertex tool, or what is it, Vertex Tools Pro, that's how that asset works. And then we can specify individual types for these specific colors. And technically, even though the Vertex Pro stuff tries to paint in either only solid red, solid green, or solid blue, I could, in theory, actually have like a purple in here to play sound effects specific to the transition areas of a vertex painted area, which makes me excited. I haven't tried it yet, and I don't quite know what I would do with it, or if I really could get a use out of that, but it wasn't any harder to code that in, so it was just a nice little bonus. And this is what I was talking about. You can see that the like topology over here is kind of bonkers. Looks really hideous to a 3D modeler. At least to me it does. But that's what's needed for it. It's not technically wrong, it just looks ugly. Obviously you can't tell when you look at it, but wireframe is kind of nasty. Anyway, so I'll go ahead and sort of walk you through this VertexGround script because it's actually pretty cool. Basically what I'm doing is I'm getting the vector 3 position where I'm touching the ground mesh, and then I'm using that to find the closest vertice. Then I grab the color of that vertice and I determine what it should basically choose to play. Should it be dirt or the grass? And all of this is based on, if we look at this, the Vertex Pro, or the Vertex Tools Pro material, which has these red channel, green channel, and there's one with red, green, and blue channels. But basically, it uses these individual channels to, quote-unquote, paint your specific texture that you want onto it. So now this is back in here. So the basic ground is pretty simple. It's pretty much the exact same thing it used to be. We just specify one solid ground type for that entire mesh, give it a fall message, and then get our ground type, which just returns the basic ground type, and then get our fall message, which just returns our basic fall message. The interesting stuff comes in the vertex ground area, which is where we, so we'll grab all of our verts right there, get all the vertices from the mesh. We will get all the colors from the mesh. We'll get our position in relation to the mesh, and then we'll basically calculate everything out, figure out which is the closest vertice. Then we're going to loop through all of our sort of information colors that we've set up ahead of time, and then we will determine which one we should play. That's all this is doing. It's pretty cool. I do have to still get the fall message set up nicely, but yeah, it was, what is that? That's only like, so it's like 30 lines of code, and it took me like 4 hours to figure out how to do it. But I like it. It's really nice. Hello, Garrett. I am doing well. How have you been? Oh yes, and before I forget, so I was going through, this actually is specifically to address to you, Garrett. I was going through my TextQuest email stuff, which I had largely been ignoring because I thought it was forwarding to me, and then I figured out that it has not been forwarding to me for the better part of like 6 months. And I noticed I got an email from you talking about the 1D beta, and I obviously never replied to it because I never realized that I got it. So I apologize for that. I have switched on all that stuff now, so hopefully I will not have unfortunate email mishaps like that, because it always makes me feel like a bit of an ass whenever something like that happens. But yeah, so that's all the exciting stuff that I've done since the last stream. Obviously, I'm still super excited about the vertex painting based ground types. Okay, so today we're going to sort of be taking a very basic approach to the redesign of the woods. So we're not going to have any, super fancy box models or ultra realistic textures like we normally do. Instead, we're going to have pretty cut and paste sort of just placeholder art. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And let me see if I've started a new scene for that yet. I don't think I have. World Woods. Or maybe I have. Oop, not the asset store. I want to turn off the lights. Oh my goodness. That is a lot. I do not know if I need that many. I don't actually have an Android device. I have what I assume will now be my last iPhone, just because of all the stuff that Apple's been doing with their stuff. Because they're Apple and they can get away with taking away a headphone jack. Let's see. All right. So I talked a little bit about this before, how we have the sort of world wrapping going on now, and the woods level is going to be sort of a weird hybrid of world wrapping and teleporting you to different places. The ultimate end goal is to have a very seamless experience of you just sort of wandering in the woods. And yeah, no, I have no idea why Apple chose to get rid of headphones. It's clearly a move for them to just sell more Thunderbolt adapters. Although it's even worse because there's only one Thunderbolt port. So now you can't even like charge your phone and listen to music. You have to choose one or the other. It seems like a huge step backwards. I don't know. Normally Apple's decisions, they might be questionable, but at least they make sense on some level, but this one is clearly like, no, there is no reason for it. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to set up sort of a pattern or some sort of grid recognition that will let us basically walk around the woods and have the wood sections spawn in as we would expect. And this is going to be interesting because I have a rough idea of how I want to do this, but the real and getting it up and running might, well, hopefully will be fairly easy. The real problem is going to come when we start doing stuff like, do I even need the woods manager? Probably not, but I guess I'll leave it in there for now. The real problem is going to come when we have paths that have to line up to one another. That's going to be weird. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to do 3D object. Let's make a plane. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and just make a light, a directional light that's kind of doing its own thing. It's going to be real time for now. I'm not going to worry about baking lights. And let's see here. So I'm going to just create a folder here. It's going to be called test. And this is going to hold the test prefabs that we set up. All right. So we're going to need a, what do I call it, woods chunk. I don't think that I need anything too crazy with this. We're going to call it empty. Right, this is the fun stuff that I was getting into. So I'm not sure if I talked about this specific stuff on the stream or not. The idea is basically that each chunk is actually 9 individual pieces, and what happens is you spawn in the chunks that you need. And each chunk will spawn in its 8 surrounding tiles. And actually, that might work. The real trick comes in when we start doing pathing stuff, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm going to take one step at a time. All right, so we have our mesh collider, and actually, I'm going to remove this for a second. Remove this, and then we're going to go ahead and add an empty game object, and then add our woods chunk here, because it needs the box collider to be its sort of determiner for its bounds. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and let's just say size of 5y. We're not going to wrap in the y-axis. We can turn that off. We're not going to mirror. We're not going to override wrapping at all for this. And actually, how do I want to handle this? I suppose I wouldn't even really have anything work on this, would I? I just turn everything off so that you don't get stuck in it. And then we're going to say 5, nope, it's 10. 10 by 10. There we go. And let's go ahead and say 2.5. So it's right up against the top there. And we'll just call this our zone for now. Alright, so we have our basic ground, and then we have a zone. And let's just zero out its positioning. Okay. And what's actually going to happen is that the player's just going to be able to wander through this with no problems. They won't get warped or do anything. And let's go ahead and test that real quick. So I should just be able to, walk off this like it was normal. I have apparently done so. I've fallen already. God damn it. Alright, hold on. What happened here? I have to have, spawned right below it. Which is super weird, because this is at 0. Okay, well, we're gonna put you up at 2. There we are. Okay, so I should be able to jump off. Interesting. I bounced. I have no idea why that happened. Alright, we're also going to cheat a little bit here. So, make a child object of this, call it spawn points. Oh dear, now so I'm actually a little worried that this might not... I might have to change my approach to spawn points for this level. So we're going to call this planes. Add component, call it a spawn point. It's going to be none. Alright, so that should be on top of everything, which means that we should actually spawn and not fall through immediately. Or at least I hope that's the case. Really? Why am I... What the hell? Fine. Spawn point will move you up. See if that works. There. Jeez. Why did it spawn me halfway up for some reason? Alright. Okay, that's... Let me guess that I just forgot to turn on trigger. Okay, that makes more sense. I was a little worried for a second there. I was like, I'm bouncing. Alright. Let's see. So now I should be able to just... interesting. I seem to be forced back in. Alright, fine. Let's take a look at this. I remember seeing this, and I was a little worried that it was a problem. Let's see, flip rotation. I'm going to worry about that. With not warping, for some reason it just straight up pushes you back. So let's see here. Get component children, don't worry about that. Get position from offset, don't worry about that. Offset, normalize position, flip rotation on trigger exit. Here we go. wrap X, which we're not wrapping anything, which means that our position should be new position, which is center plus offset. Interesting. Then that means that it must be pulling me back. Ah, I know why. Offset is trying to warp me back in a little bit so that it would behave as expected. Crap. Wonderful. That means that we have to basically disregard that. So I guess I would have to just say this, else new pose dot x equals pose dot x. Same thing with the y and z axes, I think. I'm going to change these out. I think that's what we actually want. Let's see. Z, save. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and make this empty. It's not going to have anything in it. And the idea for the IDs is that we have sort of quick ways to specify what the surrounding chunk should be. So we can say that empty, which would probably just be a, like, there's nothing in there except for the ground. Oh, come on, work with me here. Basic was probably just going to be some regular trees. Path horizontal meant there was going to be a path going through the x-axis. Path vertical going through the z-axis. Angled is going across at an angle from top left to bottom right. And then there was another angle which is going from bottom left to top right. Let's see. And then there's special ones for like the entrance to the level, a cross section, a fork, the spider section, and some other stuff. All right, so let's try this again. See what happens. Hoping that it'll just like leave me alone. No, it's pushing me back in. Wonderful. Fine. That means that it can't even say pose. Instead, I want to just say cache collider.bounds. Or cache collider. Cache collider.transform.position.x is what I want to say there. And I missed the Y one. There we are. So yeah, the overall goal for this is basically going to be a sort of weird, slightly confusing, not brutally like unforgiving confusing where you could get lost and just never find your way back. More like you'll take 5 steps, if you just walk 5 steps in one given direction, you'll probably find a path for you to follow. But I feel like it'd be more interesting for an open-ended woods section than just sort of what it used to be. Oh, hello. Well, why are you teleporting me? Okay. What the hell? I didn't say local position, did I? No, transform.position. Oh, because I said cache collider. I actually want to say coal. There we go. I don't know why I was being so dumb there. Let's see. There we are. Well, anyway, while I'm doing this, how's everyone doing? Obviously, not very many people are excited about the new iPhone 7. Although I actually don't remember much about the specs on the iPhone 7 or their other stuff. I just remember sort of scoffing at how ridiculous it was. There we go. Okay, I can now jump off the edge. I just remember laughing about them taking away the headphone jack. Right. The axis. Was I stuttering there? Or was that just my camera being kind of weird? I think that was just my camera being kind of weird. so I can just run off. And as a quick test, let's turn on X wrapping. Okay, and then Z doesn't work still. Hooray! And that means I assume that Z will work, so. Yeah, I mean, who needs a phone anymore, right? But, ugh. Yeah, well, it's a weird thing, because your phone is always, it always seems non-essential until you realize how much you actually do need it. Because anytime you're not at your computer, you'll always have your phone with you, because it's your portal to the internet. Okay, so that's all working now, which means that now we need to actually get our chunks spawning in. And this is what's going to make it interesting. Oh boy. I'm going to need to spawn in chunks that spawn in surrounding chunks that basically all form one big super chunk. And that super chunk is what actually has the collider that determines, where things should go. This is going to be interesting. So, let's see. If that's the case, I might not even really... I might not even really need this whole, chunk info thing. Well, I mean, maybe I do. Let me see, let me think. Mostly because I could think that, or I can think of a couple of ways to do this, and I think the easiest way to handle it would be basically you just spawn in all 9 chunks at once. It doesn't really make sense to target one that then spawns in 8. It seems kind of strange. But then again, it would make my life a little bit easier if I could determine. All right. I think I know what I'm going to do. I don't think I have the wood stuff set up yet. No, I totally do not. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make this a prefab. Of course, I made the error of playing, so it shut all of my freaking folders. Not the Grove. I'm going to call this empty. Test. Alright. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some trees to it. Let's just do material, tree mat. It's just going to be a brown material. Cannot talk tonight. Don't need anything else from that. Cool. So we're going to make a 3D object. We're going to just make a basic cube. Let's stretch it 5 in the Y and call that a day. 2.5. Oh, that's rotation. Why do I do that to myself? 2.5. There we are. Box collider on it should be fine. Let's go ahead and let's try to have some semblance, I guess, of randomness. Call this tree. Capital T. We will make our material for that be our tree mat. Let's duplicate this over. See, the real trick is that in order to make this work properly, oh, I can't do that. I have to treat it basically like how I make my textures. Oops. So I can't have too many things too close to either side, because then it would look like they're bunched up, which would not look right. So let's duplicate this. Put you over here. Put you there. Let's go slightly off center for it. See, because this guy is going to be like really close to this, so I'm going to pull this down a little bit. I think I can get one more. I'm going to move this to the center-ish. Put this over here. I want to say I can do something like this, maybe. Okay. I think that's semi-close to being random. It's super hard to tell, honestly. Alright, so we're going to call this one basic. I'm going to drag that in. And this is where it gets fun. I actually got to reverse my zones on this stuff. So we're going to rename this to basic. Rename this to ground. Yeah, Continue. Basic. We're going to put the ground below that. Alright, hold on. Really? We're at -0? Or -2? That's weird. That doesn't seem right to me. Huh. Okay. Oh, no, that's why. There we are. Alright, so that's the basic ground now. Let's go ahead and drag this in down here. Replace anyway, that's all fine. Then we will delete that. Let's drag in our empty object. Same thing. Just going to reorder them so that they're a little bit nicer. Empty. This will be ground. Drag that back down here. Place it anyway. And the reason is that I need the chunk info to be on the topmost object. So we're going to call that empty. We're going to call this one basic. All right. So we got our empty and basic ones, which is, you know, the bulk of what's going to be in the forest. Okay. So let's try this. We're going to have basic, which is surrounded entirely by basics. Empty, which is surrounded entirely by basics. That's fine. Let's get a couple of empties in here. Like here and here. I think that'll work. All right. Now I'm going to have to do some stuff with the woods manager. This is going to be interesting. So I need like a super cluster of wood chunks. So basically these guys they don't do anything. They're purely there for a large scale sort of wrapping affair. See, it just feels like wasted effort though. I feel like I could redo this so wood chunk is the big parent object and then the smaller chunks are sort of their own sub-objects. I guess I could have like wood section. So let's see. Yeah. I kind of think that would be the better thing to do. So let's see. Let's go ahead and create a new, I'll call this a wood section. Open that up. Let's reload. Let's close some of the unnecessary ground stuff. Color extensions. Okay. Alright, so we'll have a woods section. It's going to be in text west. And let's see, we're going to have using cpl.common. Actually, I guess I don't even need that. I can just say tq wrap zone. tq wrap zone. And then we're going to just sort of take, well, I'm going to comment it all out for now. Then get rid of this. And then just make this a mono behavior. Not totally ideal, but, you know, it'll work. So center left chunk. I'm just going to call this center chunk. All right. Let's call this one empty. So does that mean I need a section ID instead of a wood chunk ID? Probably. All right. And this is where it's going to get interesting. Okay. And I guess while I'm here, let's go ahead and say public list woods section sections equals new blah 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 blah. I suppose I don't really need to worry about that. No, I probably wonderful. I guess I would need a list of the chunks, so I do public list woods chunks equals new. The sections themselves, I guess, are fairly irrelevant, but we'll see what ends up happening. And this is where it gets kind of terrible. We're going to add a new enum called wood section ID. And of course it compiled while I was halfway through, so it's going to warp me back to the start. I'm going to have like action woods section ID. I don't like having S and S right next to each other. That drives me nuts. Because woods section does not sound right. Ah well. Make it a byte. Enum. Go to text quest. Get rid of the top. Don't need it. And we're going to say none equals 0. And let's go entrance equals 5 cross equals 10, fork equals 15, spider is equal to 20. It's probably more than enough for now. That compile, let's go back to our wood section. We're going to say public woods section ID equals section ID dot none. I'm going to separate these out a little bit. And then we're basically going to do the same thing that this is doing, only with surrounding chunks. So that means you'll have one on the left, one on the right, one on the top, one on the bottom, and then we have the corners. Oh man, so I'm going to be spawning in, geez, 9 chunks at a time, each of which, no, I'm spawning in 9 sections, each of which has 9 chunks. So that's 81 objects that get spawned in at the end, right in there. Ugh. Hardly ideal, I would think. I suppose, no, that wouldn't work, would it? God, we'll see how bad that is for performance, I guess. And then we'll say public. I'm just going to copy this and paste it over it. Let's see, so this is going to become woods section ID. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, this is going to be top left section. I guess I can just copy section and paste it over the words chunk, can't I? Chunk, chunk, chunk. Come on, work with me here. And I'm just going to say none. And basically what's going to end up happening is if it says none, so if I try to leave, let's say, at the leftmost... Oh, actually, you know what? I don't even need this. This is way too many. Don't need the whole top center. Well, no, I need 8. Crap. Don't need the center one, then. No, that does not seem right. I have top, bottom, left, right. No, but then I have this. Yeah, okay. That's still 8 surrounding ones. So top left section, top center section, top right section. I'll probably just call this top section. I don't need the center stuff. Let's just call this bottom left, bottom section. Alright. Let's go ahead and get that in there. I'm super glad that I don't have to worry about like different heights in the terrain for this. Because I would hate to have to try and make... I guess it would really only just be down to modeling, so that's not too bad. Okay. Oh boy. This is where it gets kind of nutty. Let's see. Oh man, it's gonna suck to... Oh, jeez. I'm thinking of some of the stuff I'm going to eventually have to figure out. Dropping items is going to be a nightmare here. Because people drop items, they need to be in a fairly reasonably easy to get to location. But God, if you're just warping around everywhere, oh, we'll see. Alright. So, top left section, top right section, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So let's go ahead and put this in here. And we're just going to call this, I don't know, basic. And add some basic to this. Just be like 2. This is going to be a woods section. Oh, crap. Right. Let's go to the editor. Let's redo this real quick. Section editor. Alright, I think this is... Give me a second here. Center left chunk. Let's copy this. Paste it in there. Get rid of the center left part. Just make it center chunk. Blah, 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 blah. Draw row. Draw chunk info. Draw chunk info right here. Surrounding chunks, IDs of the surrounding chunks. Oh, yes. If left is not equal, no. Left, correct. Ah, right. Right. M center chunk. That's all I need to do. Give it a second and it should just like pop right in. Give us our nice fancy editor. Shazam. Oh, really? You gotta do that. There we go. So we have our ID that we can set here. We're just going to set this one to be a basic one. And all it's going to have is, yeah, just this. So basic surround, or an empty center surrounded by basic chunks. Okay. Now, we are going to have a little bit of an odd thing because we're going to need to have, let's change this to, call it section info. And then we're going to copy this, duplicate it, change this to surrounding sections, or change this to chunks. IDs of the chunks contained in this section, and IDs of the sections surrounding this one. Alright. So I don't think I have to worry about this. I think it'll take care of itself. It's actually going to be pretty much the same thing that I need it to be, which is nice. Although I do have to copy this and just replace the word chunk with section. And then hopefully we should actually be able to get sort of up and running in terms of warping and spawning other chunks and other sections. We'll see what happens. Center sections. Why does the K not want to be selected? Alright. And then we're going to copy this over. Same thing. I'm going to place a space there just so that I know that it's where it is. Copy this over. Chunk becomes section. Section. Don't need the center thing. That doesn't actually work here. Now it does it. Get rid of that. And but of course we also got to do these ones too. And there we go. Last thing is just get rid of that. Alright, so now we're going to copy this. Actually, nope, don't need to copy it. I already did that. Just going to replace section here. And then everything should work. Make this null. Chunk becomes section. Chunk. Alright, so let's see what that looks like. Give that a second to compile. Well, that's clearly not right. That's quite curious. Does center right section not work? That's a thing. Hold up. Ah, right. Left and right section are separate. I forgot that I did that. Left section. Right section. I got rid of top, center. It's just top section too. And bottom section. There we are. That's why it gave me this like cross pattern here. And now, okay, got half of it right. Top left, top section right here. No, the top is, oh man, because I was dumb. And I didn't use camel case. There we go. One thing after another, never stops. Alright. So it's actually going to be really interesting because we're basically going to, hold on, let me go to my, let's see, wrap zone. And I'm hoping that this doesn't require generate bounds. I think I'll just be able to say generate bounds, honestly. We'll see, I guess. Because generate bounds forces the collider to recalculate and sort of fit everything underneath it. Which means that it should automatically be able to encompass all of those sort of chunks that we make. And as we spawn them in, we'll just be able to surround them all. Okay. So this is where it's going to get interesting. I'm going to eventually, for now I'm not going to worry about it, but I'm going to have to figure out how to basically determine, actually I already do that, I guess, don't I? So I'll just sort of be overriding the face functionality. I'll have to determine the side that I'm trying to leave and appropriately either warp or not warp based on these IDs that are set. So if the ID none is set, then it's just going to warp you back to the other side of this section. Okay. Oh boy, this is going to be weird. So, that's kind of unfortunate. I'm basically going to have... Oh, gross. I'm basically just going to have a bunch of empty objects like this. That's not ideal, now is it? I know. I suppose I don't really have much of a choice. Perhaps I should move this stuff into like an info class, like a serialized class that doesn't really have a mono behavior attached to it. Because the actual section is fairly agnostic. No, it does have to know about itself. Alright, well, we'll just try it this way for now. Okay. Let's let this go. And I'm going to select my woods. And do I have a wood section editor? That's a wood section editor. That's not even close to what I wanted. Woods manager. There we go. Oh yeah, scriptable objects. I actually use those for text quest. So let me create this. Woods editor. I think I just called it editor. I don't think I called it woods manager editor. Because I can never remember. And the compilation drives me nuts. So quarters, castle quarters manager. Good. No. That is not correct. I want to go to editor. Crap. Totally call it that. Well, let's delete this then. But yeah, I actually use scriptable objects for a lot of my stuff. If we come over here to data, so we have some old stuff like level flavor text. These are all scriptable objects, and they just contain data. They're a very, very convenient way of handling things. Work with me. It's compiling while I'm trying to click on things, which always ends up bad. So I can use it for stuff like this, sort of like generated enums. I can use it for raw interaction data or references to prefabs. So it makes it really nice and easy to reference things and spawn them in. Let's see what else. My dictionary, obviously, is just a giant scriptable object. Fairly basic, actually. It's just a giant list in scriptable objects. Yeah, they're really good for stuff like that. If you have anything that needs to go across scenes, or if you have something that needs to just be referenced, like a pool of IDs, or like a response or something, scriptable objects are great for data. They're very weird if you've never used them before, but once you start using them, they're really nice. I went off on a little tangent there. Let's go to the Woods Manager editor. Okay, reload. Type of Woods Manager. Draw woods. Okay, so we don't do anything. We don't have anything here yet. Because now we do. Alright. So we're going to grab sections and chunks. So we're going to say private, not void, serialized property, sections, private serialized property, chunks. How far have you gotten in your serialized, or not serialized, your scriptable objects experiments? Sections equals serialized object dot find property. Ta-da. Yeah, sections. Chunks equals serialized object dot find property. Chunks, not chunks, chunks. Yeah, the documentation on them is terrible. They don't even really tell you about them. You kind of have to hear about them through the grapevine almost. You shouldn't have to make an editor for each one. You can just use whatever you want. Like, for example, of course, I say for example, and then I switch over to let it compile so that I can't click on anything. Like, this doesn't have its own custom editor, it just does it. Oh, an editor to make one. Sorry, I didn't. Yeah, it is kind of wonky. I tend to just stick mine up here. So I go to like assets, create, SOS, text quest, collection, whatever, and these are scriptable objects. I guess I have some old ones too. So I can say like dictionary. And I just stick them here because that's the easiest one I can think of to do it. Do you have like an actual editor window to make one? Is that what you're trying to do? Or let's see. So draw woods info. Bow. So we're just gonna say editor. We're gonna kind of take the easy way out for now. So editor GUI layout dot property field sections new GUI content and then true. I'm just gonna say sections. Copy this over. Chunks. Chunks. There we are. I'm just using one as a very simple data class, list of properties for an enemy. Yeah. Single line create enemy props or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much what this stuff is. Just adding them to the assets thing. I think you can also actually like click down here and say create whatever, and then just click and drag. Nice. Okay, so that's in there. Now if I select woods, it should actually let me see that in all of their terrible glory. Let's go ahead and drag. Ooh, that's going to be not working. Now will it? I'll call it basic chunk. Empty chunk. Basic section. And I'm going to try surrounding this with, I guess I should add an empty, shouldn't I? Empty is equal to 1. Yeah, and you can do some weird stuff with why do I keep calling them serialized classes? With scriptable objects, you can actually instantiate them into the scene, and it's a really weird thing to do. I don't do it really, but there are some people who do. And I don't know exactly why the reasoning is. I think it has something to do with having like instanced information, which is curious but weird. So this one is basic, and I'm going to make it surrounded by just empties. Oh dear. No, that can't be right. That would be a buffer zone. Okay, I think no. Ah, screw it. We'll just have it. We'll just do this. We'll see what happens. down here. All right. Then we're going to change this to empty section. Set it to be empty. And I suppose its surrounding sections will be empty, empty, empty as well. I'm working on the game framework for future games, asynchronous loading, saving, basic UIs for menus, that kind of thing. That's cool. Trying to get everything designed with events and interfaces. Whoa! There is a raid! Well, that's cool. Well, thank you very much. And welcome back to the stream, Narcos. Good to see you again. And hello, Rob the Swan. Welcome to the stream, and thank you for bringing a larger audience. Hopefully I have something entertaining that will start soon. We're working on doing world wrapping. Okay, so I think we're just going to leave this as is. I'm going to pull this down here, and then we'll go ahead and try getting this started. Alright, so we're going to have 2 sections and 2 chunks. That's all we got to work with. So we're going to have a basic chunk and an empty chunk. We're going to have a basic section and an empty section. Alright. Not organized enough to do a proper raid. You know. It's the thought that counts. Oops. Alright. So now real quick, let's just come in here to public override on level load complete. And we're just going to spawn in our first section. So we're going to say, this is going to be weird. Alright. I'm going to say private void spawn section. You need a good raid message. Yeah. Can you showcase a bit of your game? Sure, actually. You know what? Since we got this many people, I probably shouldn't be doing something boring like world wrapping. I'll hop over to the castle. It's been a while since we've been there, which probably means that things are broken. But we'll see. Once everything compiles and then jumps around so that I don't know where anything is. Let's see. Content creation, blah, 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 blah. Overworld, other, intro. Here we are. Castle. Hello, Vertex. Welcome to the stream. I assume you're part of the raid. Oh, did it not go? Work with me. And... Nope. Okay, come on. There we go. Finally. And we can just hit play. And all the substances should actually behave themselves. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the stream. So this is TextQuest. It is a first-person text-based adventure where everything in the world is made up of text. So I'll go ahead and maximize on play so you guys can see everything. So wall is the word wall, tiles are the word tile, carpets are the word carpet, and so on. And in this game you can interact with everything you see. Hopefully this all works. So you can read an object. Well, apparently I can't here. We can examine an object. Tells you a little bit about it. We can hit it. We can do basically anything that you can think of. So the idea is that it's heavily inspired by old text-based games like Zork and King's Quest, and you set off on a literal text adventure to try and save the land. So let's say, oh man, the stream gets like really choppy when I start showing a bunch of stuff all at once. It's like super smooth on my end. There's no real choppiness, but it looks like the stream doesn't like handling all those colors. You still having the screen capture problem? Do you mean the choppiness? Yeah. Unless you're talking about like my screenshot tool, in which case, no. I don't know. That could mean quite a few things, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm not even sure if this cutscene will work. I haven't looked at it in a while. Oh, cool, it does. I gotta redo this entire cutscene. It's pretty old and kind of nasty. So the story is that you go to see the king. He gets turned to stone before you can talk to him. And then you gotta pursue this wizard in order to return the king to normal. But yeah, it is weird. The stream, I think it's similar to what you'll see in YouTube videos that have a lot of colors that change really quickly. Oh yeah, sorry about that. That thunder sound effect is like super loud, and it's all placeholder. I need to tweak that around. But yeah, I think it has something to do with just having a lot of colors that are moving all at once. Like if I just sit here and I don't move around and I just sort of stare at stuff that's moving, it seems to be much better about it. So right now, like everything's super smooth for me, and looking at the stream now, I know that's caught up. It's like a 20-second delay probably. Everything looks nice and smooth. But as soon as I start moving and looking around, it's because there's so many colors that are changing that the bandwidth for the actual video stream just goes crazy. So you can interact with everything. Let's read. We'll just do read. Okay, fine. We'll read books. And the books are all fake. Of course they are. A bunch of books. But yeah. The basic mechanics are pretty simple. You know, you interact with stuff. You do whatever you want. I will show you guys combat actually too. Let's try this. It's been a while since I've played my own combat sequences, so it'll be nice to play them again. Oh, I also got to rebake the lighting in this level. It's pretty old. Level transitions have little mini games that you can play in them. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Whew. I thought that I had a while loop there that got stuck. Whew. I think you can get rid of it by lowering your encoder settings in OBS. Maybe use a faster encoder. Yeah, I do need to tweak my... Oh yeah, I should probably start. Uh-oh. That's no good. Oh dear. I seem to be stuck. Well, that's interesting. Something in this level does not like having me come down here. I'm stuck. I mean, I'm obviously here. All right, well, fine. I'll just drop. I'll pop right into the sewer level. I don't need to go through the normal stuff. So let's go through text quest, scenes, intro, sewers, and then right there. Yeah, you have 1080p, 60 FPS, and only. Yeah, that's probably true. Wait. Do I really have 60 FPS? Oh, I thought it was at 30 for the stream. You probably should lower that. Yeah, and respond to Twitch Roulette. I've thought about doing a VR version of it, but one, people who know me and know how long I've been working on the project would probably kill me, and two, I'm gonna mute this so I don't have to talk over it. This is combat, by the way, which is inspired by Typing of the Dead. But a VR version would be interesting, but at the same time, it also would be hard for people who don't know how to type well, because you won't be able to see the keyboard. And if I can find a way around that, I've considered stuff like speech to text, which I think would be fun. But if I can find a way around that, I would probably totally be on board with that, even though it probably wouldn't be an initial release, admittedly. Anyway, so this is combat. While we're here. Oh no! Combat is broken! Dang it, so close. I wonder why it's broken. Let's see, combat view show hint. Well, let's just see here. I'm willing to bet it's because I've been tinkering with it, and it probably got messed up at some point. So I might not be able to show you combat, unfortunately. Yeah, and it's something that I would like to do, but it is definitely like super difficult to actually do. So enemy ID, all that stuff's correct. And then let's see here. Let's go to text quest, data, combat info, sewer troll, player info. Hopefully this is all correct. Looks like hands, but it must not have found anything. It's weird, it totally does. Flee pattern. Oh well. Try this one more time and see if I can get it working. There might be some weird deep issue with the combat that I can't show. Ah, that makes me sad. Combat's usually one of the more enjoyable things for people to see. Oh right, the audio didn't... Oh wait, no, I muted it. Ah! But yeah, that's... VR is something that I do want to do. Jump. But it's a bit of a weird thing. Alright. So you can hit enemies, and hitting enemies will take you to a new combat sequence. Let's see. It's kind of annoying that everything else works, but it seems like combat does not. I have 2? No, okay, those go away, which is good. Let's go to battle. Oh man, that sucks. That makes me really, really sad. Let's just see real quick why it's doing that. Yeah, So it's in combat. Cutscenes, sprites, everything seems to be working. Oh well. Well, I apologize. It seems like there is something busted in my combat, and I don't quite know why. Action equals combat flee, escape info, else player attack info. Go to definition. I probably shouldn't spend too much time. Well, see, now that I'm in it, I kind of want to fix it. Hello, Acid Burner. And yeah, actually, I do think that I do tend to find more bugs when Narcos is present, which is not a bad thing. It's definitely something that it needs to be done, and I'm glad that it does happen. Let's see. Current player info first or default. Blah, 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 blah. If this is null, it should say get item ID dot hands info. Ah, I think I might know why it is. Let me just put in a little debug line here. I think this is it. Debug.log info is equal to null. Ta-da. Stop playing real quick. I think if we just fix that, it should actually get everything working nice and neat. And now we try compiling again. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm going to be lazy. I'm just going to move my guy over there. Or, even better, turn on my test spawn, which is like right by the troll. Aha! So now let's do it. Hit. And we get our cutscene, fade in. Let's do our battle. Okay. Let's see. Aha! I knew it! Alright. So we're going to change this to itemid.name is equal to itemid.hands.name. Boom. There we go. And last things last, just going to double check this real quick. And actually everything should be working. I forgot that I had changed, right here, this is why. Work, hands. That actually should do it. So I can probably actually even get rid of this. I forgot that I had changed my entire ID structure. And now it's a lot more generic, but it also broke everything. So, you know, go figure. Come on. Make sure that everything else is working. Should. But, you know, never hurts to check. Alright. So hopefully this will work. Ta-da. Oh, I said hit with a backslash. And I'm going to turn on mute audio. So you guys can listen to the music. That's incredibly old. Ah! Kick. Punch. Kick. Crush. Punch. Attack. Stomp. So this is combat. Let me know if you guys can't hear me. I've never never sure if the audio is balanced correctly on this. I think it should be much quieter than my voice, but I never know. So combat is heavily inspired by typing of the dead, and you get some really weird sort of race typing going on. So you have to say, so you can see that as I type words, they'll show up on the left there, and you can see the enemy is also slowly typing words on the right. We have combos on each side. Whoever gets the most combos wins. Okay. Hold on. Let me mute it. There we go. Yeah, I need to probably balance that. Sorry about that. That song is also like super loud. That's why I usually just tend to mute things. So anyway, just a quick recap then, what I was saying. Heavily inspired by Typing of the Dead. If you haven't checked that game out, you should play it at least once in your lifetime. And then as you attack, you'll actually have these words pop up, and you just gotta type more words than your enemy does. So you can see that my combo's on the left, their combo's on the right, and as we type, whoever types the most, or in the case of a tie, I graciously allow the player to win. And I'm actually going to run away, so I'm going to say cower, flee, run, escape, run, cower. And depending on what your equipment is, you know, what you're holding, what you're doing, the words will change, the frequency, the type of attack will change. Oh, really? No reference, huh? Man, combat really is just screwed up. Interesting. Well, either way, that's combat. Looks like I need to go back through and actually test everything. Get rid of this debug. Don't need it. So, it's fun. And now, I'm going to hop back into what I was doing, which is setting up a sort of world-wrapping affair for one of the levels. Let's go to Scenes, Overworld, not Grove, not Woods. Woods. I wonder if I can actually nuke this. This probably should be something like -3 decibels for the actual audio. Alright. Clear all this stuff. Find this. Here we are. And let's get back to scripting real quick. Let's close this. Right here. So we're going to, let's see, spawn section. Let's do section ID. Wood section ID. And we're just going to say, we're going to cheat and we're just going to say section 0.id. It's not how it's going to be in the future. But, you know, just to get things started and testing. So spawn section, get this going. Alright, and spawning each section is going to need to spawn in the individual chunks along with it, so that it actually gets the parts of the level that make it up. So we're going to say, this is going to be interesting. Oh boy. Oh man, how is this going to work? So come back over here. Let's go to our test here, take a look at our inspector for it, go to our section. So you can see that we have our chunks, basic and empty for the most part, and our surrounding sections. And basically what we want to do is we want to spawn each section, have the section spawn as chunks, and then spawn the surrounding sections to make sure that everything's working properly. Oh man. That is going to be just so much fun. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and spawn, or make all of this none, so it'll just wrap within itself for now. Alright. And just to make sure, basic section is the top one. Good. Alright. So let's start from the top left, I suppose, which would be, we're going to say, using sleepyowl.common. It's my own common library that I've put together. There's a pool manager dot request. We're going to request a wood section. And we're going to say, actually before we do that, this is going to be interesting. I'm actually going to cheat. This first time that we do it, we're not going to worry about positioning, but in the future I will have to worry about that. So we're going to say pool manager.request, and we're going to call it wood section. It's going to be sections dot first. Seriously? Using system.link. Sections.first or default. It's going to be ws.id is equal to id. And we're not going to worry about parenting or anything like that. We're just going to request that. We're going to make this a wood section. Section is equal to that. All right. And then we're going to spawn in our chunks. And this is going to be probably actually kind of annoying because we're going to need to do this. Let's see, wood chunks. Right here, let's go to our wrap zone. I'm going to grab my calculate bounds here, go to definition. I'm going to copy this. Copy that and paste that down here. Because I need to know the bounds of my my chunk, like how big it is, so that I can position it properly. Why? Hello? Well, why are you freaking out? Why does not exist in the current context? Ah, I see. Why? Oh, we don't really care about that, do we? There we are. That works. And we'll make that public if it's not already. Good. Cool. So let's come back here to our woods manager. And I guess this isn't going to be great. I have to call that 9 times. That's not a very efficient way of doing things. Screw it. We'll brute force it for now. So we're going to say woods chunk. Chunk is equal to woods chunk. And this is going to be, oh man, chunks dot section, okay, dot first or default wc dot id is equal to section dot top left chunk dot id. I know it's just top left chunk. It will be parented to our section dot transform. Isn't that lovely? And then we're going to say chunk dot transform dot position is equal to section dot transform dot position. Oh man, minus chunk dot bound calculate bounds dot, can I do width? Nope, it's x, isn't it? Or is this, no, that returns something. Dot size, that's what I want. Size dot x, okay, plus, oh boy, section dot calculate bounds dot size dot x. Actually, nope, it'd be extents dot x. Man, this is going to be nuts. I will be amazed if this actually ends up positioning everything properly on my first try. I think that's it. Operator vector 3. Ah, sorry. Dot x. There we are. Are you? What the hell? Ah, I see. Okay. Right. Oh boy. This is just going to be so much fun. Right. Right. We Got a definition here. Make sure that my bounds aren't actually resizing my freaking... No, good, they don't. Convenient. Man, this is gonna suck. Yeah, a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily hard. I'm just kind of like trying to not have to script a bunch of crap. So I'm gonna do private vector3 get chunk position. We're gonna pass just a woods chunk, and then the actual woods section, and then I guess, man, I guess a vector2 might be fine. Vector2, I'm gonna call it pose. Alright, so we're gonna say vector3 chunk pose equals new vector3 blah blah blah. We're gonna return chunk pose. Alright, I'm gonna copy this, paste that up there, and we're gonna say chunk pose dot x is equal to that. It's going to be section.transform.position.x. That's the center x position of the section. Then we need to subtract the entire width of our chunk, and then we need to subtract half of the width of our section. Or is that, no, that's not correct. That's not even close to being correct, actually. We'll just do it this way. I know it's not going to be correct, but I'm going to leave it like this for now. And actually, I'm going to say plus chunk.calculations, and then we're going to say times. Nope, don't do that. And we're going to say pose.x is less than 0. F, if so, it's going to be negative 1f, else just 1f. Going to be interesting. Actually, no, screw it. It's going to be, we're just going to say times pose x. Times pose.x. That will work. That will work just fine. Then we're basically going to do the same thing for y and z. Actually, we're not even going to bother with y. It's going to be x and z. We're going to assume that y is always going to be the same. Actually, that's going to be times pose y. Okay. And I guess the last thing I'm going to do is just say chunk pose dot y equals section dot y. Oh, come on. Transform dot y. Dot y. Okay. Dot position dot y. Wait. All the vector 3s. All right. Chunk transform dot position equals get chunk position. And then we're going to say chunk section and then new vector 2. And this is going to be negative 1f, 1f. All right. So we're basically going to just kind of do this over and over again 9 times. In the future, I'm going to do this differently, but I want to just sort of brute force it for now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. So top left is going to be top center chunk, top right chunk, center left chunk. Oh, come on, work with me here. Center chunk, center right chunk, bottom left chunk, bottom chunk, bottom center chunk, and then bottom right chunk. Ta-da! If only it were that simple. Actually, it pretty much is. I just got to do some quick changes here. So this is correct. Let's say, so for this, we're going to say 0f. And let's see, this is top right, so it's going to be just a positive 1. Let's see. This is going to be negative 1f, 0f. This is always going to be 0 and 0. And then positive 1 and 0. And then negative 1. Negative 1, 0, negative 1, and then 1, negative 1. Let's just try it. I don't think it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, as they say. All right. Now if we hit play, we'll see a bunch of stuff. Whoa, hello. Okay. It's about what I was expecting, but something's like bouncing me. I'm like bouncing in random locations. Why is that? Let's go to woods, spawn points. What the hell? So I'm in here, used basic section. I'm in an empty chunk, which is what I want. It's a trigger. It's a woods chunk. It's an empty one. It's weird. So it spawned everything correctly. Oh, wait. Nope. I know why. I know why. It's because of this. I'm outside of the collider. I forgot that. Stupid me. We're going to say section dot... crap, what's it called? I think it's just update. Nope. Okay. Give me a second. Wrap zone. Let's see. Generate bounds. That's what I need. Generate bounds. Okay, we'll try that again. It looks fine to you until suddenly you realize that your nose is bleeding, and then you start to realize that your eyes are drifting, and then you just kind of fall over dead because your brain exploded, probably. It's yeah. Haha! Now comes the moment of truth. Oh, oh! Oh, I probably should, yeah. So I do need to change how the wrapping behavior works, obviously. I shouldn't wrap in the z-axis, nor should I mirror everything. But, I mean, it spawned everything. I think it even spawned everything correctly. I don't think it's all scrunched together. I could be wrong. Oh, right, crouching. Oh dear. Crouching is still a thing. Yeah. Huh. It spawned everything correctly. That's nice. That worked so much better than I was expecting it to. So we're going to turn off mirroring. We don't want to do that. Not going to wrap in the y-axis at all. Don't care about that. Okay. So now if we do it, we should actually get a much more predictable behavior. So if I were to actually like run off here, I should come in on the other side. Obviously, it's very snappy right now because there's no surrounding area. But doing this in the future, I'll have actual surrounding spots mixed with fog to make everything behave as expected. Yeah, that worked out pretty well. Okay. So just real quick, I want to change my ground to use, I'm going to duplicate this, call it ground mat. Just going to make it green so that it looks more like a forest floor. Alright, and then we're going to change our grounds to have that for their material. Oh, work with me here. Ground mat. There we are. So, now that that's working, the main benefit to this is that it lets me do stuff. Now, actually, So the real trick here isn't getting things to spawn like this, although it's nice that it spawned really nicely like that. The real trick is going to be making it so that teleporting, say, from this end to the next is going to be seamless. Which, actually, that might not be too difficult. So let's go ahead and just say, oh boy, this is going to be fun. I'm going to give it a vector to offset. And then we're going to say new vector 2, 0f, 0f. And then the section's transform position will be determined by the offset there. Oh boy. Oh man, I also need to have like a failsafe so it doesn't cascade. I was gonna set it up to spawn its surrounding chunks, and then I realized that spawning surrounding chunks would call spawn surrounding chunks on those chunks, so it would just continually cascade forever. So we don't want that, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in a bool that says spawn surrounding equals false. All right. We're going to say true here, but we're not going to say true of anything else. So we're going to do spawn section. God, this is terrible, calling a function within the function. Spawn section dot top left, not chunk, section, new vector 2 is going to be the same thing, so -1, 1, f, because that's all true. Dear, oh dear. I guess the thing here means that section dot transform dot position is equal to new vector 3, and this is where it's going to get fun. Section dot bounds dot size dot x times offset dot x, and then section dot transform dot position dot y, and then same thing here but for the z. Okay, so I think this will work, hopefully. So we're just going to copy this, and we're going to wrap this in an if spawn surrounding, do all this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to need 8 from here. Top center, top right, I forgot it's just top here. Top section, left section, right section, bottom left section, bottom section, and bottom right section. Alright, that should all work, hopefully. Oh wait, no, I gotta change these. This is going to be 0, and this is just 1, and then of course 0, -1, correct? No, that was, what am I doing? It's 0f, this is -1, and then this is 0, 0, this is +1, 0, and then this is -1, -1, and I completely just screwed everything up. It's 1f times 0. This is bottom left, so this is -1. I Can't type tonight apparently. -1, which means the bottom section is 0f, and then 1, -1. Okay. Let's see what happens. Hopefully nothing breaks. Let's see, empty chunk, empty section. I don't think I made it all empty, did I? Yeah, it's just the basic ones again. Turn off mirroring, of course. Don't need to wrap the Y. Don't really need to wrap anything. Oh dear, I seem to have an error. Oh right, that's just Y. Okay. Okay, sure, why not? Okay. And I think once we got this working, that's probably going to be it for tonight, because the actual the actual stuff is going to require a fairly extensive rewrite, I think. I think I know what I need. Oh, well, screw you too then. All right, hold on. Prefab, common pool manager request, pooling pool manager request, blah, 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 spawn section, spawn section. What is going on here? What did I do that just completely screwed everything over? Spawn surrounding, we're setting that to false. Layer 1, section down top left section. Spawn section. Section's first default value, ID equals ID. That's all correct. Yada yada yada. Give me a second here. Empty section. It's set to be empty. Where's my actual... Here we are. Don't care about this stuff. Basic section. It is set to be basic. Empty section is set to be empty. It's surrounded by all basics. They have the exact same layout, pretty much. Surrounding sections is none. Therefore, we do not care about them. Why is it returning no? I wonder. Chunks, 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 chunks. That should all be correct. But it's not. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. I wonder why that is. Let's see. Basic chunk, empty chunk. Basic section, empty section. Those are all working. They are set to be correct. ID and empty. I wonder. Sections first are default. ID is equal to... What section ID? What section ID? Top left, top right. Alright, fine. Let's do this. Test. Oh, and I completely just missed my mark. Seriously? Work with me. Test 1. I'm curious to see where it gets stuck. Come on, work with me here. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oh yes, and before I forget, I have been accepted to Pixel Pop while this is going on and compiling, and right before the end of the stream. And Pixel Pop is a games festival. I don't think it's just games, actually. I think it's like a pop culture thing that's held in, I believe, St. Louis. I applied for that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They finally got back to me, which is great. That's going to be in October, so if you're in the area, feel free to stop by the booth. I will hopefully have a newer version of the demo up and running with some nicer stuff in it. Okay. Let's see where that null reference comes from. Test 1. Great. Just great. So, none. Oh, that's why. Okay. Let's change this to empty for everything. I had them backwards. I thought I was spawning in the empty section for some reason. That was stupid of me. Yes! And now... Aw. I am sad now. Right. Oh, balls. That's kind of terrible now, isn't it? So I'm just gonna turn this stuff off for now. And oh dear, that kinda... Well, actually, that's not too bad. That's not bad at all. Slightly seizure-inducing, maybe, but not bad. So you can see here, we're warping. So we now have the, I'd say seamless, but obviously the fact that you can see the edges of the world means that it can't be seamless. But this is the forest. Well, sort of. It's a little more cluttered than I would like. But this is sort of the concept that I was thinking of. You know, you can wander around these large, vast expanses, and it will feel like the forest is much larger than it actually is. So obviously, if I don't maximize on play, I probably can turn off mute audio too. You can see that my character is just, it's that red line there. My character is just, you know, constantly getting put back into the same spot, or within the same bounds, no matter what happens. So this is fine. The real trick is going to be, one, making it so that you can't see the snapping occur, or the warping occur, and two, making the level actually not confusing, because even this is 81 sections, 81 individual sections, 9 chunks of 9, or 9 sections of 9 chunks each. This is confusing. If you had to navigate this area, it would be a nightmare, because they all look the exact same. So that means that I need to come up with a convenient way to help players recognize where they exist spatially, where they're trying to go, and handle wrapping accordingly. So part of this is going to be fine because there's going to be paths that you can follow, but obviously if you're going to just run off into the woods, there needs to be some way of getting back onto the path. So I don't know. That's going to be, yeah. It's going to be something that I have to think about. And yeah, landmarks and lighting are certainly going to help. And the general sort of idea that I have is that if you just pick a direction and run in it, then you should get put back at some, like, within 10 seconds, maybe within 5 seconds, to a path. It might not be the correct path. It might not be the path that you need to get, like, to the actual end of the forest, but it would be a path that you can follow, either backwards or forwards to the entrance. So that's sort of the goal, and obviously there's still a lot to do there in terms of making sure that everyone can do it. And I get the feeling it's going to be a lot of playtesting to really sort of nail down the specifics to help people out. But it's nice to see that it's working, sort of. Everything's spawning in. The wrapping, if I had fog or more areas spawned in, or a larger surface area, it would look seamless. There's no jitter when you jump, so I should be close to jumping, like right about here. So if we look at like the ground, hold on, where is it? It's over here, isn't it? There it is. It's right here. There's no jitter, so fractal paths. Oh God, no! I'm not that mean. But yeah, all right. So I think that's a pretty good place to stop for the day. We got, you know, all the stuff, all the updates covered. We got the forest actually spawning in all of its chunks, and hey, we got raided. That's a good day in my book. I'm sad that combat didn't work properly though. That's unfortunate. I really should test it again, see why it's doing that. But yeah. So I think that's a good place to stop. It is Thursday, so I'm guessing again on Saturday I'm probably not going to stream because Saturday has become the experimentation day, and I like to sort of do the weird stuff that I'm not sure about during Saturday's work. But I don't know. Keep an eye on the Twitter feed, and I might be doing a stream on Saturday or not. Never know. But we should be back next Tuesday, regardless, to get things wrapped up. Well, not wrapped up. Get things more sorted out with the forest. So, all right. Well, as always, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you, Garrett, for stopping by. Thank you, Narcos, for bringing an entire raid party. And thank you, everyone from the other stream that stopped by. That was awesome. Always makes me excited. And I'm glad that everyone got bugs fixed. All right. Well, that'll do it for me tonight. So, as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.